it's Monisha.
And Shirley from Make It Shine, the Money Podcast.
On today's podcast, are women better investors than men?
And what can we learn about investing from women?
Keep listening to find out.
This little light of mine, yeah, I'm gonna make it shine, make it shine, make it shine, make it shine.
So Shirley, we talked about investing way earlier in Season 1, Episode 3, where we actually discussed why people don't invest in the stock market.
Yes, I was surprised to learn that a lot of the reasons are fear-driven, even though there's so much evidence to show that the benefits of investing far outweigh the risks.
Yes, and even with that data, a lot of people still choose to save in what they think are risk-free assets. I mean, especially women. And actually, this is called a gender investment gap, which is a term used to describe the difference in investment behavior between men and women. And in monetary terms, this is the equivalent, if you can believe it, of $3.2 trillion.
I think that's the first time in our podcast that we're quoting something in the $1 trillion range.
Right. This is from a 2022 BNY investment study. And what the study showed was if women invested at the same rate as men, there would actually be an extra $3.2 trillion of assets under management today.
You know what? I'm not surprised because we discussed this in Season 1 as well. That smart women, including many of our friends, they don't invest.
Yes, I remember talking with two of the smartest women I know, PhDs, and actually turned out all their savings were in cash.
Well, here are some interesting stats from a survey at Reuters in regards to saving and investing. So 41% of women save versus 31% of men, but only 28% of women invest versus 47% of men. So that's a big difference too.
And it only makes the wealth gap grow over time, right? So an article on Ellevest wrote about the wealth gap, and this stat just blew my mind. So for every $1 in wealth that a man has, women only have 32 cents.
Oh, wow.
If you're Black or Latino woman, it's much worse. It's 1 cent.
Yeah, so that doesn't sound right or fair at all. And I think the most important takeaway here is that once women actually decide to invest, on average, they are better at it than men. So the University of California did a study over 6 years in the 90s that found women investors get high returns by 100 basis points over men. And having that compounded over years is huge.
Yeah, and on the flip side, women actually tend to lose less money when compared with men. So the investing platform OpenFolio did some analysis, and they found that during a downturn, for instance, during 2015 as an example, when the markets weren't performing, women only lost 2.5% of their portfolio versus men who lost 3.8% of their portfolio.
And this extends to professional investors as well. So based on a study by Goldman Sachs, female professional investors, they outperform their benchmark 43% of the time versus only 41% of the time for men.
Which really begs the question, why do only 9% of women believe they're better investors when compared to men?
This reminds me of when a job posting is out and you've got one male and one female with identical experience and credentials. So the male will apply for the job if they believe they meet 60% of the qualifications, and the female will apply if they meet 100% of the criteria.
Exactly. So women have historically lacked confidence in their ability to invest. So same as kind of the scenario you shared.
Yeah.
And Fidelity reported that only 9% of women think they make better investors than men. And the data from FINRA actually just drives this point home, with 71% of men assessing themselves as having a high level of investment knowledge compared to only 54% of women.
Right, so it's about confidence, right? So in the same study, 49% of men felt comfortable making investment decisions compared to just 34% of women. And I personally see this all the time. So growing up, I remember my mom would always look to my dad to make the final decision on finances. And I also did the same as well in my earlier relationships.
Yeah, and it's also about representation, right? So we don't see a lot of women in investing spaces. So you look at channels like CNBC or Bloomberg, only 23% of certified financial planners are women. 98% of mutual fund dollars are actually managed by men, which is insane.
So as an investor, you have to ask, why is 98% of mutual fund money managed by men when women have been proven to be better investors?
I totally agree. And another finding from that BNY study showed that 86% of professional asset managers said that their default investment customer is a man. And 73% say their firm's investment products are primarily aimed at men. So a lot of the gap is institutionalized.
Remember the $3.2 trillion investment gap we talked about earlier? Well, researchers estimate that since women tend to invest more to support social and environmental causes, the $1.9 trillion that is currently missing from the market would be in socially responsible investments that would also look to achieve positive social and environmental outcomes.
So women not investing actually has a ripple effect just beyond personal wealth.
Exactly. And this gap exists beyond North America. On average, women in Europe invest 29% less of their monthly income than men do. But the good news is, 70% of European women investors say they want to increase their investments over the next year.
So, what can we learn from women when it comes to investing?
Well, firstly, we should be more patient and less impulsive as investors. Women tend to take a more measured approach and are less likely to make sudden emotional decisions.
I agree. And secondly, one thing women do really well is they're diversified. Being more diversified is critical. And so they tend to spread their investments across a wider range of assets, which reduces risk and increases the chance of higher returns.
Right. And lastly, women are aware of the long-term effects of their investments. Women tend to focus more on the future and the impact their investments will have on their financial goals.
And it's important to know that these are general trends, not hard and fast rules. So every person obviously is different and should invest based on their own goals and risk tolerance.
But the takeaway here is that women can be just as successful, if not more than men, when it comes to investing. So if you're a woman that has been on the fence about investing, get started with the confidence that you can be a great investor.
Exactly. And it's important for the industry to recognize this and work toward more representation and inclusivity for women in investing. And know that we can actually learn a lot about investing from women investors.
So let's all strive to be better investors, regardless of gender. And remember, it's never too late to start investing and building wealth for the future.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and please share it with a friend.
Let us know your thoughts and check us out on Instagram at Make It Shine Money. And don't forget to make it shine.
This little light of mine, yeah, I'm gonna make it shine, make it shine, make it shine, make it shine.
Any views or opinions represented in this podcast are personal and belong solely to the podcast creators and do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations that the owner may or may not be associated with in professional or personal capacity unless explicitly stated.